be one of the most important things you watch. I think it's so important in our time. When I was growing up, and even now in the homeschool world, there's so much focus on like a Christian apologetics and Bible interpretation and memorizing scripture. I don't mean to say it like that, okay? I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I think that's totally awesome, and I'm all about that. I love those things. I grew up on those things. I love those things. They help me maintain my faith too, okay? So I don't mean to discredit that. But I think that what people are missing is that a lot of the kids are leaving the faith because of sin, sexual sin especially, mostly actually sexual sin, and scandal in the church. There's widespread scandal. I don't know how many scandals I've lived through now. A whole lot. Just every day, like new revelation comes out that people on my side, like when I'll get to it in a minute, but like the military. When I had just joined the military, we're fighting this war in Iraq and Afghanistan, and they're waging there's like this war, this huge sex scandal going on in the military, and it was crazy. It was demoralizing, and it was crazy. And then you're seeing that happen to the Catholic Church and the Mormon Church and the Boy Scouts and the Catholic Church. I think I said that. And now the Southern Baptist Church, and now this, I don't even know what you call them, but like the Duggarts. What is it? Like, I forget what they're, it's the IBL or something. I forget. But just nonstop scandals, and waves of Christian kids are leaving the church. They're losing their faith because it seems like the most evil place in the world is in the midst of these Bible thumpers, these Christians, right? These people who promote traditional values. And I posted something about this earlier, not even telling people what I was going to talk about. And one of the moms in this group, Raising Children for Greatness group, said, what's this stuff about this purity gospel? It's about this false gospel and stuff. And everybody's talking about it right now. It's like, here we go again. So this new documentary by Amazon, it's going to take another wave of our kids out of the church. They're going to lose faith. All these shiny, happy people really are perverted like monsters, behind closed doors and stuff. That'll be the message, and these kids will leave, and they'll run into the arms of our enemies. And I grew up with that. That's why it's so sad. It's like I've seen this so many times. Like all the kids I went to school with, like Christian schools with, like not all of them, I shouldn't say that, but a lot of them have left the faith. And when you grow up Christian and you break, a lot of times they become more militant than the kids who were just raised as atheists. Like they don't have a bone to pick. They just don't believe in God, right? But the kids who break away often become the worst enemies and the greatest advocates, right? They're the converts of the opposing side. And so they actually end up waging the persecution of the church like the strongest. Like think of John Piper, right? He's a famous Christian preacher, and he's okay. I like him. I actually read some of his books and stuff at Bible college, but his son, a Judas, stabs him in the back and is the most vicious and evil against his own father and against his church. And people rally behind him because he grew up in that church. He would know, right? So he becomes a leader of the opposition, the enemies. So that's frustrating. But the worst part is we're just losing people. We're losing souls. And some of these people were my friends growing up. And I never thought that. Like we went to a Christian school and we're young, we're in elementary, and everybody loves Jesus. And you just don't see it coming. And a few weeks ago, I got some really devastating news. It's weird. I lived in Boise, Idaho for a while, like through elementary school. I moved to Kansas, and then I moved to West Virginia, right? And then Virginia, and then Oregon, and then I came back to Idaho. And I went to jiu-jitsu. I went to Bible college, and then I was just going to train jiu-jitsu. I was in my 20s. And I bumped into an old friend that I was best friends with in elementary school at this Christian school. I don't think he's a Christian anymore. I don't know. I don't want to speak for him, but I don't think he is. And it was really cool to see an old friend. And then, this is probably like 10 years, 15. Oh my goodness. It was probably, like 10, 15, maybe more years ago. But recently they posted on Facebook that his brother had died, which was kind of devastating. I don't know why. I didn't know his brother super well, but we had hung out a lot because this kid was my best friend, and his brother was a little bit mean, I think kind of a bully to us, but we were friends. I remember us playing with the Jurassic Park toys. We used to get the dinosaurs and set up Jurassic Park and stuff, and we played X-Men and stuff with his brother. His brother was like 2 years older than us, and I liked his brother. And I assumed it was drug-related or something because I think that there was issues like that maybe. But, again, a kid in Christian school, his parents had high hopes, and and all those things that we want for our kids right now, and they try so hard to set him on the right path, and then he goes astray. And then I found out through the news that actually it was a lot worse than that. His brother was walking at 2 or 3 in the morning, and on the highway. I don't know if there was drugs involved. I don't know the whole details, but he's walking at 2 or 3 in the morning on the highway, basically. Somebody called the cops. The cops showed up. This kid pulled out a knife. He's not a kid, actually. He's 40. He pulled out a knife, and he stabbed the cop. I don't know if the cop lived or died. He stabbed him a whole bunch of times. And then they shot him to death. So that was the end. A kid that we went to not Bible college, but, Christian school with. And, yeah. And I see your kids, and you guys have high hopes, and you guys are trying to raise them in the faith, and we're just losing the culture war. And it's not just the culture war. It's tied. It's the religious war. There's a war being waged, and we're just losing it in droves. I look at my own family. I don't like to talk about it. It's too personal, and I don't want to ever use my platform to harm anyone I know, and that's why I never use names or anything like that. But I'm just looking out on Facebook, and you see the pride flags and stuff like that, and they're just turning them. It's like these kids. There's this girl I used to take her to Sunday school, and a lot of people in her family reached out to her and tried to bring her up in the faith. And now, I don't know, just see it, and it's devastating. It's like, oh, another one. Sweet, sweet little girl. And you can see she's just in a dark place right now. So it's sad. It was a little depressing, actually. I'm starting to feel that way again. It was a little depressing a few weeks ago, and that's why I didn't do my talk. And tonight I'm trying to lighten up and drink a beer and feel a little better. And it's not a Bud Light. And it's not just those. It's just tons of stories like this. Like kids I went to Boise Bible College with, and now they have the power fist sign and social justice, and the whole LGBT. It's like, I went to Bible college with you. What happened to you? It wasn't that long ago. How did you end up promoting Black Lives Matter, which is not actually promoting, because of course they do, but I mean the organization. It's a communist hate group. It's a racist, anti-white hate group. They burn down cities. They attack police officers. They're communists. They hate the church. How did you end up supporting that? We went to the same Bible college. What happened to you? I went away for the military a while from Bible college. I took a break. I came back to my old church. There was this sweet girl. She used to play the piano. She's so nice, such a nice girl. I find out she's shaved her head, become a lesbian, left her husband. I just went to Bible college with her. What happened? She lost her faith. Another one that used to lead, and she was in my small group. And I went to, so I knew her pretty well, their family. Another one, led our small group. Went to Bible college. We all kind of went to the same church. He led our small group. I believe he's an atheist now. And his wife does weird stuff. I think it's astrology and stuff. It's sad. Super nice guy. I don't know what happened to everybody. How did everybody lose their faith? Family members, you thought they'd never lose their faith. Boom, gone. Okay. All right. So I'm not trying to be depressing, but then, you see the culture wars, and 3 things came out recently. And it just fired me up, got my blood boiling against, how dare them slander us, and how many people are they going to lead astray? And then, people will say to me when I'm negative, well, God wins, the culture war. In the end, we win. And not the people who don't keep the faith. And these are people I care about. These are my family and my friends. And even our enemies we're supposed to love. So it's not a happy ending when Jesus comes back for everybody, okay? It's only a happy ending for those who keep the faith. And we're losing in droves our own children, okay? So I don't know. I feel like the weeping prophet sometimes. I'm not a prophet, of course, but just the devastation. You're looking at Jerusalem. It's empty, and you're just it's devastation, okay? We don't always have to be positive in Christianity. There's a lot to despair about, a lot to be sad about. Yes, we have joy in Christ, but there's a lot of heartache that happens on this world to people that we care about in the meantime. And I don't know that everybody's going to make it to heaven that we love. And that is really weighing on me too. Just these people, I could have maybe done more. I could have, I don't know. And now they're not only maybe not going to heaven, but they're waging the culture war against me. And they want to take me down and hurt me and my faith and my values, okay? So anyway, so then I see this new wave of propaganda. And it started to bug me a week or so ago or 2 weeks ago with the Marie Antoinette. There's a new show on Amazon Prime I think it was by the BBC, that propagandist. It's just like PBS, like government-funded, taxpayer-funded propaganda, and they said they have a fresh new take on Marie Antoinette, and they show her like, kissing, making out with some other girl, being a lesbian, and they always portray her as this degenerate, sorority, clueless, spoiled brat, party girl, right? They constantly degrade her. And I used to believe all that too, just because I watched TV and I didn't know any better. Then I got a hold of some of her writings and her daughter's writings and like her husband's like last will and testament, which is all in Blue Manor Academy. Wow, a totally different picture. A very good woman. And you think her enemies, our enemies, slander her. Okay? Remember how they'll write the history of Donald Trump. He will be Hitler. Okay? And they've already done that to people. Just a wake of history of slandering their enemies and constantly degrading it. And Marie Antoinette, by the way, was, I think, an amazing queen. And boy, what she went through. I can't even fathom. Another one that bugged me, really, and this hit me a while ago, was the Southern Baptist Convention. Okay, Southern Baptist Convention, right? That was an association of Southern Baptist churches, evangelicals, very strong faith, very pro-life, pro-family values, devastated with a sexual scandal. And it just happens again. Everybody panics and what's going on? And we need to fix and we need to reform. And they're condemning their own leadership and they're battling. And now they split in two. And it's like another devastation. And nobody knows what's going on. Nobody understands like the war that's being waged. And then this one was the last straw. Shiny, happy people came out. It was a secret, the secrets of the Duggart family. All right? And there's a lot of people that don't like the Duggart family. They want to distance themselves from the Duggart family. Some of it's justified, some of it's not justified. But that's the facade. That's who they're holding up, okay? They're not actually after the Duggarts. They're after, and they say it many times. You can read the articles or who they're after. The Christians, homeschoolers, conservatives, evangelicals, they list it all. In fact, there was one article that was talking about, based on the shiny, happy people, how they said what happened to Josh is exactly what you'd expect from someone who was taught that, men are superior and misogyny and who was taught slut shaming instead of actual math. And but they actually said that someone who was homeschooled, a homeschooling evangelical, whatever is what they said. That's what you'd expect from that. Like, it leads to that. So we're being attacked. And of course, the Christians, who are the sheep, they're a lot of times just sheep. They scatter away from their leadership. And now they're panicking, like, we need to reform the church and we need to condemn this false purity gospel, not even realizing it's like it's manufactured by the enemies, these scandals. I'm not saying that it's all made up. I'm saying that these stories are hit jobs and you play right into their hands every time. It's amazing, the wake of devastation. And I think it's because we just don't know any better. Our preachers, they go to Bible college, they learn a little Bible interpretation, a very little, and then they're really nice people. Like most of the kids I went to Bible college with, they're really nice people. They're not mean, they're not warriors, they probably wouldn't make very good soldiers, a lot of them, okay? That was my experience. They're just really nice, feely people. I'd say nice is a good way to describe them. And they're under attack, a vicious, vicious attack by CI level, like Illuminati organization, a New World Order that basically has overthrown all the governments in the world and is continuing to wage war against the government of the Church of Christ's kingdom, continuing to wage war. And they have no idea what's going on. So they panic, and we need new accountability. We need a new system. We need to do something different here, like something's going wrong. And they don't realize that maybe they're not doing anything totally wrong. Maybe it's just the enemy, the tactics that they don't understand. And so they're panicking. So at any rate, I guess that's what I'm trying to talk about tonight. It's going to be many series. Probably I'll do 10 videos of this. But I'm going to be addressing the cultural war against the church and the scandals, the propaganda, and the cultural wars. And when I say scandals and propaganda, I don't mean that none of these scandals in the church are valid. I just want you to understand the greater context, who's exposing these scandals and broadcasting them, and the scandals that they're covering for, and why it's being waged. And it's just part of the culture wars, and Christians just tend to fall into their hands every single time. It's really sad. It's really devastating. It's like playing chess. And the one guy knows he's like a grandmaster, and the other guy is a simpleton. He's played chess like twice in his life, and he's just getting crushed. And you're like, dude, don't move your queen there. Like, oh, well, no, you're falling for the trap. Like, or that, he's going to take his queen. You're like, no, he's sacrificing the queen. He's going to take back row checkmate because you played chess. I feel like so much of our leadership today, they don't understand how to fight the culture wars, and they're just being annihilated. It's embarrassing. We're just losing waves and waves of Christians. And I shouldn't even say it's embarrassing. It's just devastating. That's what it is. So the purpose of this series will be manyfold, but tonight I'm going to address propaganda, because once you understand and have studied it, not like on the internet necessarily, but like studied it, okay? I have military training in it. I went to level C SEER. I've actually studied propaganda, how to make it, how to identify it, how to handle it. They actually train us that. Like when you're at POW camp, they're there to break down your organization. There's a small group of soldiers in there, maybe let's say 20, 30, a few hundred soldiers, something like that. They're in a POW camp. You have a little organization, and they're there to destroy that organization and turn you against each other and create chaos and turn you not only against each other, but against your cause, against your mission, against your own country. And they do a great job. And that's why we go to SEER to learn the tactics. On the flip side of things, military officers and CIA agents, like intelligence agents and interrogators, they go to SEER to learn the tactics of propaganda, and they're very good. And it's that level of people that are waging this propaganda war against the church. So it's understandable that we're naive and we don't know what we're doing and we're being scattered because our shepherds are inept in this sort of thing, okay? So I want to just share to you a little bit tonight, like to get you understanding like what propaganda is. And then I'm going to talk about a scandal, a real scandal that I went through. Not, well, actually kind of personally, but the military, sex scandals, and how it was part of a broader culture war against the military. And then I'm going to bring it into the church and these new accusations against the, I don't remember what organization they represent, but we'll just say conservative Baptists is who they're attacking right now. I believe that's who they are. Maybe it's non-denominational conservatives. They're coming after all of us. It doesn't really matter. Okay. So propaganda. How do you create propaganda? And I'm just going to expose to you some examples of it, because at the end of my training, here's what you came away with. Here's what I came away with. When you're in the enemy's hands and they control all the power, which at this point, the New World Order controls all the power. They basically control the courts. They control both parties. They control the attorney generals almost throughout the country. Like, they control almost everything. And it's not just here, it's throughout the world. They control all the media for sure, and the newspapers, and they have the bankers, and they have all the wealth. Okay, so they're in the positions of power. They control us for the most part. So we are in the enemy's hand. And when you're in the enemy's hand, you should trust nothing you see or hear unless you can verify it. Like, you have to think for yourself. So when you're in a POW camp, the enemy tells you something, you don't take any of it for granted. You check it, you verify it, and even then you're aware, okay, that everything is a lie, everything is rigged. The entire purpose of that camp is to break you down, break down your faith and your unit and your men and your mission. Okay, that's the whole purpose. So you're on guard. Okay, so one, you're not susceptible to it. You're on guard against it. And two, you keep the faith. You have to keep the faith. No matter what you see, no matter what you hear, you keep the faith. You keep the faith in your mission, in your leadership, and in your comrades. And sometimes your comrades actually will fail you, or your leadership will fail you, or maybe your mission isn't perfect, but you don't let the enemy break you down that way. I hope that makes sense, okay? So it doesn't mean that, like, your leader is always right, or your comrades are always right in that situation, but you don't let the enemy tell you that they're wrong. You don't let the enemy use that as a wedge to break up your organization, okay? Which is exactly what is happening in our churches today. It's a war being waged by our enemies. This is not the justice system coming after our churches. They're not trying to expose corruption, to end it. They're trying to destroy our churches with it, okay? All right. So let me give you some examples of propaganda. Okay. Imagine you're at a POW camp, and they come to you and they say, okay, we have to process you. It's important that, your command knows that we have you. So please, write your name, your social security number. We're going to send that to your unit to let them know, in the Red Cross or something to let you know. Now, you can totally do that. Like, that's That's not part of the interrogation. That's okay. Sometimes they do that. So you write on a whiteboard, you write, my name is so-and-so, and I'm safe and well at this point, but you hold it up. Okay? Boom. You just created a work of propaganda. They're not going to say, my name is, and I'm safe and well. Your family's not going to get that. The military probably won't. They might get that. But maybe they write something else on the board now. You held up a whiteboard. Maybe now the whiteboard says, my name is Sergeant so-and-so, and I'm a war criminal, and I've killed these children, or something like that. You didn't know. I mean, that's the nature of propaganda, right? And then back home, your family's like, wait a second. Why would he hold up that sign? Like, have they broken him down? Is he weak and he's admitting these crimes because he's broke down, or is he commit? And it creates chaos and confusion, and they start to lose faith in you, right? Does that make sense? So you just created a work of propaganda, but you didn't mean to. It's like, and you believe it or not, a lot of people fall for this stuff. Okay, now let's say you're in a POW camp and you're all by yourself in solitary confinement, and they bring you a meal. You haven't eaten in a week. They bring you a meal, some food. Oh, thank goodness. And it's actually a pretty good portion. You're like, sweet, you start eating that food, right? Well, what you don't know is while you're eating that food, they just walk by another POW, and he hasn't eaten in 2 weeks. He's starving almost. And the guard says, see, if you just cooperate like him, we'd feed you. So what just happened? I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't know I was part of a propaganda. I'm just eating my food, right? Well, the POW walks by, and he thinks two things. He thinks, one, that guy's betrayed me. He's cooperated with the enemy. So he loses faith in me, right? He's lost faith in me. He thinks I'm cooperating with the enemy. And then he is pressured to cooperate. He's like, well, if that guy, maybe, so either one of two things happens. He starts to hate me and not trust me. He's like, oh, he's sided with the enemies. He's working with them. So he doesn't trust me. Or he says, oh, well, that guy, he's a sergeant. He cooperated, and that's how he got food. So I should cooperate. Why am I resisting so much? I mean, maybe I should cooperate so I can get my food like that guy. So one of two things happen. Either situation is great for the interrogators in the POW camp. See? Propaganda. I didn't know I was creating propaganda in the cell. I'm just eating food finally. I'm starving, right? And the other guy doesn't know he's a victim of propaganda. He's just taking what he sees at face value. That guy's eating. He must have done something to deserve the food. It's all arranged. Okay? The bloody mole. The bloody mole. Okay, this is the guy in the group. He's the mole. He's not one of you. He's brought into the POW camp. Maybe he was there before you got there. So he has seniority. He's been there for around for a while. And maybe they don't treat him well. Maybe they call him out and they beat him in the face and he's bleeding everywhere. And you think, I can trust this guy. I mean, they hate this guy. They beat this guy up. They torture this guy all the time in front of us. And you start to open up to this guy. You trust him because they attack him. This should really scare you with politics, okay? Because these are well known. This isn't ingenious. This is just like the ABCs of chess. This is the ABCs of propaganda and cultural warfare, right? So that's why when I say when they attack Donald Trump, I don't know that makes him one of us. Maybe. I don't know how much of this is arranged. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know Donald Trump. I like Donald Trump. I kind of like what he stands for, some of it. I don't know Donald Trump. He's not my old friend. He's not my family member. He could be a bloody mole. Okay? Controlled opposition. Okay. So watch out for the bloody mole. Now, in a POW camp, you're sometimes aware that they're always spying on you, but you don't suspect another POW, especially one that they're mistreating like that. Because you think they would give him special treatment. They wouldn't beat him like that, right? No, they'll beat him just so you see it and you believe, oh, he's one of us. And you comfort him and he's like a brother to you, but he's the mole. Okay. You can't eat because you're being punished because this is so relevant to what's going on in the church right now. You've been bad. Okay. You can't eat because he's been bad. He stole your food. We had a pile of food, but this guy's been stealing it. We were going to give it to all of you, but he's been stealing it, so now you're all punished. Okay? He probably didn't steal the food. They're trying to make you turn on your own soldier. Okay? Maybe you saw him steal the food. You saw him go over there and take the food, right? Maybe they sent him over there to get it. I mean, believe nothing you see in a POW camp. Okay, but they want to punish you and make you think it's their fault. Or your leadership did something wrong. Or they messed this up, and so now you're all going to be punished. They're trying to create chaos. Think of that in the church right now. They're creating this chaos, whether it's justified or not. Outside forces, enemies of the church, are creating this chaos, saying, we have to investigate. We have to do this because you guys mishandled this, because you guys, and they're creating this turmoil in the church. And we think, I'm tired of being accused. I'm tired of feeling guilt. I'm tired of, why don't they just do this? It's like that white guilt. They constantly, that's a different culture war, right? But they're attacking white people. And some of the white people are like, oh, these other people, why don't they get it together and stop being racist? It's like, don't you understand? You always be racist. You go down to microaggressions. And then they'll tell you if you say you're not racist, that's even more racist because you're denying your racistness, right? There's no hope for you because it's a culture war, okay? They're never going to reward you until you join them, okay? They're going to keep making you feel the pain until you side with them. They're trying to break you down and lose faith in your mission, your leadership, your comrades. A change in leadership. When you get into that POW camp, you still have your rank that the United States military assigned you. Those enemies have no right to rearrange your chain of command, and they can change up the rank on the collar or do whatever they want. But that doesn't change the fact that you have a commanding officer and you obey them. They will try to get you to change leadership no matter what. Anything they can do to stage a mutiny, to make you lose faith in your leadership. Maybe they really will break your leader down. Maybe you'll see him compromise and work with the enemy. But maybe you don't know that they've tortured him for like a week and he's on drugs. He's delirious. He doesn't even know what he's doing anymore. And now he's working with the enemy. You lose faith in him. Never lose faith in your leadership. Never change leadership, okay? Why? Because that's the goal. And once you mutiny once, it's over. It's over. You'll lose faith in all the leadership that follows. They want you to get past that first initial step of betraying the leader. It could just go, we're going to go to the second in command. This guy is incompetent. He's no good. This is our new leader. Once you do that once, they've broken down your organization, your structure, and that's by design. They are going after our leaders. They're making us lose faith in our leaders in the church right now. They're making us think that our leaders are predators, that our leaders are the enemy, that our leaders are exposing our children for their own reputation, exposing our children to bad people on purpose, and then trying to cover it, to cover their own reputation. They're making us lose faith in our leadership. These aren't our friends, okay? Now, again, before we get too far, you're going to say, well, they are, and it's been proven, and there is abuse, and I've seen it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you have to think for yourself, though. But you don't believe it when the enemy says so. You don't believe it just because they say so, or they've done an investigation. We'll talk about these investigations in a minute, okay? You have to start thinking for yourself. Do not trust the enemy. The enemy is not there to reform your churches and help make your church stronger. The enemy hates your church. So whenever they're like, if you just do this, your church will do better, okay? It's usually like the opposite. They want you to just do that so your church will become weak and destroyed. And you might get some temporary reprieve, like they'll stop persecuting you for a little bit. You'll get your reward for joining their forces and meeting their demands, but then they'll come back for you until you are one of them. And when you look at a lot of these Christian churches, they've joined the opposition. Like you look at the Episcopalian Church right now, and they're waving the woke flag, that LGBTQ flag, and promoting horrible sin from the pulpit, and they have transgender preachers. They've joined the enemy. And now the pressure's off. They're free to do as they please in the POW camp. They've been broken. Okay? And we're going to look at that and be like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we could just kind of do that too? We'll just get some more female pastors. We need more accountability. That's the whole point, dude. You can walk freely in the camp once you've joined them. In the meantime, you're going to feel the pressure so that you're tempted to break with the cause. Okay? Guys, I could go down the list of all the different tactics and propaganda, and we'll talk about some more, but I just want to put those things in your mind, okay? I have training in this from the military. I can't exactly say all of it, especially on something like this, because I could get into trouble. And they would. If this ever blew up or something like that, I can't expose like all that I saw in parts of that training, right? I can't tell you what went on in there, okay? But I can definitely expose the tactics of propaganda, okay? You can study those outside of the military, okay? You could read the stories of other POWs who went through this sort of stuff, okay? So this is public domain information, we'll say. But most people aren't aware of it. and they don't understand the war that's been going on. And they're not students of history. They don't understand that this has happened in country after country after country, in organization after organization after organization. It's the exact same pattern. It's like when I look at chess, it's like, oh, that's a king pawn opening. I know the opening. I know where he's going to move now. Okay, he's going to do this, he's going to do this, he's going to do this. Okay? And with these scandals, it follows the same steps. So you could say, okay, maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe it's all real. And maybe the enemy is just trying to help us reform our churches. Or you could say, wait a second, it also is the exact same pattern that they've used to destroy other organizations. And, okay, so I just want you to start thinking about that right now. Okay, I'm not going to go too long tonight, but I do want to give you, let me see. Actually, guys, that's it. I'm going to make it a short video. In the next one, I'm going to talk about a real culture war. I just gave you some theories tonight and some background that we're talking about, okay? But I'm going to talk about a real cultural war that I saw waged against the military. And that was the first time I really saw firsthand, like, how the scandal was used by social justice warriors in the military to break down its leadership and organization and restructure it. And today, you know, they're waving their gay pride flag. Like, the military is totally conquered by the social justice warriors. And I saw that because I joined the military at that time, like right in the middle of that culture war. And I want you to walk through the tactics, and you'll see it's the exact same thing that is going on in the churches right now. And they haven't just accused you guys. It just started with the Catholics. But I'll tell you why, too. I'll tell you what triggers it, okay? But it happened to the Catholics. Then it happened to the Boy Scouts. I think it happened to the YMCA, kind of. I don't remember. I shouldn't have thrown that out there. But it happened to the Mormons. It's happened to the Orthodox Christians now, the Greek Orthodox, you know, the Russian Orthodox Christianity. It's happened to the ultra-Orthodox Judaism, actually. I have some information on that. So you'll come to one of two conclusions. You'll come to the conclusion that Christianity, something about Christianity is inherently wrong, inherently evil, and leads to scandal and abuse and cover-up. That's one conclusion. Or you come to the conclusion that maybe this is an orchestrated attack, a slander campaign, and a Soviet-style takedown. And so that's what we'll be talking about. And there is probably a little bit of both, guys. I just want to reiterate, when I say this, it doesn't mean none of it's true. There will always be wolves in the church. There will always be King Davids with a man after God's own heart who then committed abominable sin, you know, a murder and adultery. Okay, so I mean, that stuff does happen. But what they're doing is they're taking that example and they're painting it as this is inherently evil. It's rooted in the faith. There's something evil about this faith, because this organization, this mission, Christianity, the church, and they're trying to destroy it so that people will leave the church in droves and become atheists, or they'll reform it in the mold of a liberal church, which is therefore no longer the Church of Christ. It's a church of the New World Order, like the Episcopalian churches become. So, okay, guys, I guess that's enough. I hope that helped. I'm not satisfied with this talk or where it went. There's like so much that has to be said. I could probably talk for 50 hours, but I'm trying to make it palatable. So from this, I just want you to realize that there is propaganda, and no matter what you see or hear or think, if it's coming from the enemy, you have to be on your guard. You have to be very, very careful, okay? And these are professional. This is CIA level. I'm not saying it is the CIA, okay? I'm saying that the people waging this are experts, grandmasters at this game. They're very good. And the way you defend yourself against that is you say, I believe nothing the enemy tells me unless I verify it for myself. We will develop our own information. We will uncover our own scale. We'll do our own investigations. We will not allow the enemy to dictate the terms. Does that make sense? That's the only way you trust it. You believe nothing you see or hear if it comes from the enemy. And too many Christians, they just take the bait. They don't even know they have an enemy. They're just like, it's just the news. It's an AG. He just did an investigation. Who is that AG? Who's that AG? Do you know who that AG is? Do you know who that newspaper is? Be very, very careful. Be very careful before you betray your own and throw your own leadership out. Ask some questions. All right. I'll see you in the next video.